Um, really hope everything works over here. But Chevra, good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning today Yerushalmi Maisreis Pedig Beis Halacha Aleph. We're learning Daf Yud Dalid, and we left off on Daf Yud Dalid, Amid Aleph, 7 lines from the top of the Amid. We began the sugya by having a statement in the name of various Amoraim that that if someone tells his fellow, I will separate the Maisres for you. In other words, he offers to be a shliach, and obviously the mishaleach acquiesces. So the rule is einoit tzarich la'amid imoi, which means that you don't have to follow up with him. The mishaleach could assume ubalasha in habavli that chazaka shliach oisa shlichusei. Problem with that is that we have a Mishnah Masechtas Eruvin that speaks about someone first sending the Eruv Techumen in the hands of those who are unable to halachically put it into effect. But then the Mishaleach who sent the Eruv Techumen decides, I sent it in the hands of a minor, just as an example. A minor is not qualified to place the Eruv in whatever location it's going to be placed, because you need to have kavana to be koine shvisa, and a chede shoyte v'katan, they don't have halachic enough kavana. So what he did is that he told another person, v'im amar la'acher, go after that cotton, get the Eruv from him, and put it in the place. So the Mishnah says, well, it's effective. But we right away clarified, even though it's effective, but the owner, the person who wants to use the Eruv Tchumen, v'tzarich la'amoid imoi, he has to really follow up. He has to ask that adult, did you indeed take it from him? So why don't we say chazaka, shliach oisa shlichusai, and there should not even need to be a follow-up. So we left off yesterday with the second approach here in the Yerushalmi from Rabbi Chananya b'shem Rabbi Chanina, right? Almost the same name, but not the same name, that it depends who initiates it. And that's very important. And this is a halacha, this is a real halacha l'maisa topic, because there are many areas in our lives in which we can send a shliach to do something for us. Do you have to follow up or not? Depends who initiated it. If the shliach offered to be the shliach, then there is a greater chance that he will follow or she will follow up with it, because they offer to do it. If you were the one that asked it from them, even though they agreed, then that's the one approach. Then you have to at least follow up. That's where we left off, and we're going to begin the Gemara today by following through fully with this differentiation. After we conclude with that, the Gemara is going to go back to the Braisa that we had on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Remember, when one person, Reuven tells Shimon, don't focus on Amaretz and Chaver here. Reuven tells Shimon, you can go ahead to my fig tree and you can pick 20 figs. So we said over there that Shimon doesn't have to do anything, because since there is no Gemar Melacha, it's only 20 figs, so he can have Achila Sarai. But if he tells him, go and fill up a basket, being that the filling up of a basket is the Gemar Melacha, then lo yoichal ache ya'ased. Really, it means lo yoichal ache ya'ased demai, and I'm not going to go back. That was the whole beauty of yesterday's stuff. We're going to begin to learn a new Braisa today that will discuss another difference just between this 20 figs versus a kalkala. And this has to do with another topic as to when a person is selling or buying in the amount of a kalkala, what does the kalkala mean? How there are standard baskets, there are larger baskets, there are smaller baskets. This touches in the question of meiser. What's the gemar malacha? If you fill up a little basket, is that a gemar malacha? It's also benegeya, hilchas gezela. If I tell you, I'm giving you a gift, go take a basket full of figs from my field. Well, can the person, the mekabel matana, can he get a basket in the size of oig malach habashan and say, all right, I got a basket? There's some point where the guy is dishonest. We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on that as well. And then today, God willing, let's get moving. We're going to go back to the two final parts of the Mishnah. Each one had a gavaldik chiddush. Part number one is that when the owner of figs goes into someone's sha'ar, he goes into someone's gatehouse, or he goes into someone's store, and the storekeeper and his friends are sitting together, and this owner of the figs places the figs down, and he says, Chavre, let's eat, bring it. He gives a gift. Now, Re'iyas Pnei Habayis doesn't only mean literally that once the figs enter the Pnei Habayis, that's going to trigger the tevel. No. Re'iyas Pnei Chotzer at times triggers the same thing. So whether they were in a store, doesn't have to be only a bias. So now, Mishnah says that the owner of the chanus, the owner of the shad, the shad which is at the chatzir, for them it's gemar melachet, but not for anyone else. If I own something and I take it into my shad, my chanus, my house, then it's tevel for everyone because it's mine. But since it didn't belong to the owner of the store, it belonged to someone who was not the balabas of the chanus. He puts it for everyone. Over there, we do differentiate. Only from the perspective of the owner of the store did these figs have a gemar malacha. He cannot even have achila sarei. Everyone else can have. There's going to be some more qualification for that. And finally, the last case, Rabbi Yehuda says that even the balachanus, he doesn't have to, it's not gemar malachet. Only if he turns his face around or if he goes into a more private part of the yard. We learned the Mishnah Keshitas Rabbi Elazar. We're going to have today Machlokes Amoraim. Rabbi Elazar, we're going to get back to it. That's going to learn the Mishnah the way we learned it. It's about private, not private. Versus Rabbi Yechanan that has a complete different understanding of our Mishnah. And God willing, we'll get to that when we get to there inside. Daf Yud Dalet Chevra, 7 lines from the top. Again, the difference of Rabbi Hananya b'shem Rabbi Chanina. When do we say Shliach Choseh Shlichusei? When do we not say it's not a Ruvei Techumen versus Maisres? And like we said in the Bavli says it's a Doiraisa or Derabanan. We don't do that. It has to do with who initiated, which therefore means we're up to the words Hada Yalfa min Hadhi Vahahi Yalfa min Hada. Based on his understanding, we're going to completely compare the din of Erev Tchumen and the din of Maisres, making them fully equal. In other words, the Gemara is going to speak out that in the case of Erev Tchumen, if the Shliach offered to fix, the Shliach says, you sent it in the hands of a minor, it's not going to help. Let me help you. Then you rely on him and you don't even have to. And in the case of Maisres, if I tell a person, do me a favor, I'm in a rush, can you be Tcheirim U'Ma'asir? Since I asked, I do have to ask him later, did you do it? Just read it, the words inside. The case of Eruv indeed will be equal, and we compare it, we'll make it the same as the laws of Meiser, meaning, like in the case of the Mishnah that we spoke out, if the adult tells the Mishaleach of the Eruv Tchumen, he tells him, no, what you did is wrong. You gave it in the hands of a cotton. It's not going to be effective. You gave it in the hands of a kuti. He doesn't believe in it. You cannot trust him. I'll fix it. I'll do it. I'll take it from them and put it. Then indeed, not only do we have the words of the Mishnah that it's okay, Hareze Eruv, but more than that, like we have on top of the Amid, even Rabbi Lazar will say that the Ein Sarach LaAmidimai, because he initiated. And the same thing in reverse, the Hahi, meaning Meiser, is going to be equal to the dinam of Eruvin, which means that if the owner of produce tells the shliach, "Sho'omer lo aser al yodai, do me a favor, separate it for me," so then no problem. Like we said, shlichus, one of the two sources of shlichus is from truma, from maisres. Kein torimu gamatem. You can do it. You can appoint a shliach. But it doesn't matter. And even though when you come back, circumstantial evidence, the pile of produce looks different, it looks like someone was Tcheirim U'Ma'asir, it's not enough. Which the way we're teaching it means you have to ask him, did you indeed do it? There's another thing about did you indeed do it. When something has a chazak of it being tevel, it's like when a woman goes to the mikveh, she has to say, I went to the mikveh. Even though circumstantial evidence, she went to the mikveh. Same concept. In order for you to change a status, there has to be a explicit declaration about it.
You want to eat in the morning before a fast?
Danny, the Gabi is saying good, that even though many people are noyeg here, at least in Chabad Sola, and I'm sure many other people that learn early, to wake up just a fast day is no big deal. You wake up a bit earlier and you eat. You have to, ideally, you should verbalize before you go to sleep that I'm not accepting my fast. There it's even more. There's no chazaka. but there's a presumption. If you go to sleep, you're okay. Okay, now we're going back. Again, we're going back to the Braisa we had on Daf Yud Gimel. It's a whole different conversation. It's not about the Chaved or the Amma Aretz. It's not about the Mai. But yeah, we're just to differentiate between the gifter, Reuven. It tells Shimon, take 20 figs. Simple case, since it's a matana einer kemecher, there's no gemar malacha. The din is that Shimon is allowed to go to the field and eat all 20 figs casually. But if he tells him, akal kala. Now, another detail, we did learn in the Mishnah on Davav that the makom that people would package the baskets by covering them with leaves, then just for the record, just filling up a basket does not do a gemar malacha. This braisa is in the place where that's the final step they did in the field. They would harvest figs. Once the basket was full, that's it. At this point, like we said, if a loikeach would come to the field, you would sell it to them gesund to hate. Even though be'emes, if a loikeach would come to the field, Yakir, you would sell them one fig also. We know that. But we don't, but that's very unusual. It's not done yet. From the perspective of the owner, now that it's in the basket, he already is fantasizing. Now a client can come and I can sell it. Okay. So says the Anacha Braisa. Say Reuven tells Shimon, you can go and take from my fig tree, take 20. So the same words. Not only can he take it, but the chiddush is v'hu pater, because we view that as not gemar melachad figs, and eating in the field is considered achilas arai, no problem. But the moment he tells him tseu maleas akal kala, excuse me. So now I know what we learned on Daf Yud Gimel. Now we're having a whole different thing. So Rabbi Oimer ani, interesting expression. We have it by Rabbi. That prior to Shimon going and actually filling up his basket, Shimon should really show the gifter, listen, this is the basket. And as we'll see right now, this touches on a gazela. You would imagine that there would be, a Gemara is going to clarify. If there's a standard size and he has the standard size, there's nothing to show. But if you have something a bit bigger than the standard size, that's really what Rabbi meant to say. Just run it by him. Okay. Now, v'kamu hushira kalkala. Okay, let's understand that. Now, when the Gemara is asking v'kamu hushira kalkala, there was another question in this. And that is, let's go back to the Mishnah that we just mentioned. What's the Gemar Malacha when you fill up a basket? Same thing. If there is a standard basket size, if the owner, if the farmer, he had smaller baskets, then we will not say it's Gemar Malachat. You know, they're picking it off the tree. And then if the Halach Yelach is a bigger basket, then we presume he's going to find a bigger basket. He's going to move it into the bigger basket. So what he did is not the final step. So that's, in other words, it touches both on Meiser and Gezela. Interesting. Stam kalkola arba'as kabin. That's the standard. And the Gedoyla, just to know what a Gedoyla would mean. Now, don't tell me Gedoyla means anything bigger. It wasn't Stam Hefkervelt. Gedoyla means that there were also standard baskets, but they were called already bigger baskets, and they had the size of one saw. Just to know, one saw is 6 kav. So it's a third more. You go from 4 to 6. And interestingly, Ketana is not down 2, was down 1. Uketana shloishes kaben. Okay. And what the Gemara, let's do a real learn pshat in the Gemara. What Rab Shmuel bar Nachman b'shem Rabbi Yonason is really trying to say to you, Yakir, that when did Rabbi say, Oymerani, you have to show it to him? That's if he's coming with the Gedoyla. That's what he's really trying to say. If he's coming with the average, Stam Kalkola is 4 kav. If he has a 4 kav Kalkola, he doesn't have to show him anything. That's really what he's trying to say. Okay. Rabbi Yoina is wondering, is this discussion only Dine Gzela that Vadai? In other words, if there's a standard and the recipient of the gift is planning to bring a bigger basket, the right thing to do is to show it to the gifter. But lemaisrais is amart. Is it also for dinei maisres, which means that in the Mishnah Davav, the rule is that if figs, when they fill up a basket, that's the Gemar Malacha. Does it have to be a basket of 4 kav? If the farmer has a basket of 3 kav, would we say the same thing? Or let me say differently, maybe even more, that if the farmer has a basket, the big one that has 6 kav, and he filled it up 4 kav. So he has the 4 kav, but the basket is not full. In other words, what will be the din? Do we say, no, this guy is not going to fill it up? Well, he didn't have the average baskets. If the standard basket is 4 kav, don't forget, when you sell it, you can tell the purchaser, listen, I know the basket is a bit oversized, but that's the shear of the standard. So maybe that's the gemar malacha, or maybe you have to fill up the basket. In other words, does this touch on dinei maasros? Oy midas hadin means, or is it only midas hadin means honesty, dinim, gezela? So the Gemara says that I teimel lamaasros is amart. Just for the record, if this discussion was about maasros, then kol shchein lemidas hadin. In other words, if the measurements of baskets are so clearly defined, let me say it like this, that if you fill up a small basket, it's not called the gemar malacha, then for sure, b'negei dinim of honesty, if the guy brings a big basket, he's a gazlan. That's not what the gifter meant. But we would not say the other way around. But in Teimar Lemidas Hadin Samar, but if this discussion of Rab Shmuel Bar Nachman B'Shem Rabbi Yonason was that the whole Brais is only concerning honesty, then I'm going to tell you Lemaisros Loi, the Dafka not for Maisros. Why not? Because by Maisros I can always argue Gemar Malacha means the final step of the farmer. If the farmer only has small baskets, when he fills up a small basket, that's his end. If he brings a big basket, again, here I'm not so clear, but for sure by a small basket, Gemar Malacha by 3. In other words, if it's about Midah Maasros, then Avada applies to Midas Hadin. But if it's only Midas Hadin, then you don't know if this applies to Maasros, not Maasros. So this was something that Rabbi Yoina did not know. Rabbi Yossi knew. Rabbi Yosef Pshita that only La Maasros is Samart, and therefore Kolchrein, not only, even La Maasros is Samart, and therefore Kolchrein Midas Hadin, it's consistent. Look inside the second to last line in the Pnei Moshe. Rabbi Yossi loy mesapka leklal, like Rabbi Yoina didn't know. Ela Pshita lei, de leinyan Maasros itmar. Why is that? Because the whole Braisa is about Maasros. The Rebbe was on the Braisa. Shmuel Bar Nachman is telling you Rebbe. What is the Braisa? You know, if the Braisa is telling you 20, you don't have to take off Maasros. A basket, absolutely, the whole thing is about Maasros. And then a Chanami.
About Maasros. Repeat what that means. So if I tell you, hey, you can go fill up a basket of figs, how does that affect it?
That would mean that whatever that the size basket that this person brings has to be shown to the owner. Not only that if he has a bigger basket, the owner should see that he's taking more than he thought, but also for there to be a proper Gemar Malacha. What do I mean by proper Gemar Malacha? That we're saying when is there a Gemar Malacha? When you have a stam kalkol of arbas kabin, the way I understand it. And if it's not a stam kalkala,
so when you fill up your whole basket, let's say it's 4 kav, 4
kav for sure. That's for sure Gemar Malacha. That's for sure.
Men have to take Maasros.
No, the picker has to take Maasros, or the way we learned before with Amoretz and this, that then we can presume. In other words, it's connected to the dinim of Maasros. Now, showing the basket would mean that not all baskets affect the Gemar Malacha. Why would you have to show him? Why would you have to show the owner a basket? For the owner to see, I'll tell you for which direction. This direction, I'm sure. For the owner to see that you're coming with a small basket, and therefore, for the owner to know either that if you're an Ama'aretz and he's a Chaver, that when you're going to pick 3 kav, I'm going to have to be Ma'aset. I need to know that. Because if I wouldn't see your basket, if I think you're only going to take 3 kav, if you tell me I'm taking 3 kav, fill up your basket, and the guy says I'm taking 3 kav, show that the basket holds 3 kav for him to know that it's Gemar Malach for whatever consequence. particularly in the brisa that we learned on Daf Yud Gimel.
Says fill up a small basket.
Owner says not smil. The owner says fill up a basket, and let's say this guy says, well, I'm going to take 3 kav. So says Rebbe, show him the basket. Show him the basket. Let him see that it's a small basket, for him to know that 3 kav is the gemar malacha. If not, he wouldn't know that. Okay. It's closer than we think. Who really knows? Vlad, where are you? No. It's not. Would not be. Well, it depends from what perspective. 2 is the same up and down from the perspective of 4, but not from the perspective of 6 and 3. In other words, when you go from 4 to 3, how much percent did you change? What's the answer?
33.
You changed 33. From the perspective of the 4, but from the perspective of the 3.
From the perspective of the 3, you went up.
It's closer than you think. Very good. And from 6 to 4 is
from 4 to 6 is also 33.
33. Very good. Thank you.
No, sorry. From 4 to 6
it's
is
a
50.
third. In other words, it's closer. Depending on from what perspective, there is a third in both ways. Yeah.
The whole thing about if it was about stealing or whatever,
only about
right? And Meister becomes a little more.
That's right.
Challenging. So the beginning of the price that talks on 20 figs.
Yeah.
So I tell you, you could go take 20 figs from my tree. Now, what does that mean?
That means for sure,
for
sure, no chi of meisers.
So why not?
Because no. A small basket vadai would hold more than 20 figs, not 100 figs. 20 figs does not fill up a 3 kav. 20 figs is not.
24 eggs. The egg is the size of a fig. Let's say.
There you go. Hustle.
So then you're at
1 kav. There you go. Very clear. Okay. Daf Yudalot.
Much smaller amount.
Much smaller amounts. Clear. Very. Now we get the marshal of 20. Okay. So Daf Yudalot Amid base. Like we mentioned, the Gemara is going through the last 2 clauses of the Mishnah. First of the end was group of people are sitting in a store. The fig tree owner is walking into the store. Who does he find in the store? Not only the owner of the store. He finds a whole group, a whole chevra. And he places the figs down and he says, guys, let's have a fig farbaisen. So the Mishnah says, amazing, that hein oichlin u'pturin, everyone else would mean the owner of the figs. All of the other people, why are they allowed to eat without any type of obligation of being ma'aser? Why? Because for them, there's no gemar malacha. The question is, there was Re'iyas Pnei bias. Re'iyas Pnei bias is more inclusive than just a house. It entered a store. It entered the chutzner. It entered the gateway of a chutzner. Re'iyas Pnei chutzner. Even though we always use the word Re'iyas Pnei bias, so that was the word that when it entered, it didn't belong to the storekeeper. When it entered, it didn't belong. And I'll tell you more. If he would have gone into the store and he would have told the storekeeper, I'm giving it to you, then again, that would be a gemar malacha. And now, if the storekeeper wants to share it with everyone, doesn't make a difference. If it belongs to me, my bias is going to be koiveya. Since he didn't give it only to him, he gave it to everyone equally. That's why the Mishnah says the other people can eat ubal hashar or ubal hachanus are chayavim. Now,
on this last time, like, is it where he just puts it on the table, or like he gives like 3 each person?
I think he puts it on the table.
And is that not considered like a funnel?
No, because he's saying it's for all you guys to have. No, it's if I want to gift to you something, then we say that your chutzner is like your hand. Let's go. The chutzner can affect the kinyan. But if I'm not giving it to you, I'm giving it also to you. I'm giving it to everyone. Then it's not yours. It's not all yours. It's everyone's. It's everyone's. Did they acquire it? Maybe only when they take it. Maybe he acquired his right away and everyone else has to take it, but he did not give it all to the balachanus.
You bring your stuff to someone else's house. It's not.
If I bring my stuff into someone else's house.
For him, yes, but not for you.
You know, I'm wondering, this is a good topic. If I come to your house as a Shabbos guest and I put down a bottle of wine. I think over there, the balabas, everyone knows the balabas might not even open it. He can keep it for him. If Iran Wise comes to your house on Shabbos and he gives you a bottle of wine, don't open. This is selfish. Keep for you and put out your bad wine to everyone else. Like, why would you waste a good wine? I mean, in other words, I'm just proving that the guy who gives the gift is giving it to the balabas, even though they are hoping that he's going to share it. But the balabas has the right. Now, if I say explicitly that, don't forget also, it's not a meal. This is casual eating.
Like bringing it to shul, being on the table.
Very good. Bring it to shul, putting on the table, you're giving it to everyone.
But there is still a concept that Chassid Shalom Kolala.
Only
it's for him to say, yeah, we're gonna share it. I mean, let's take it from the other way. He could say, oh, it's all mine.
No, he can't. That's not the case. In other words, Chatzei Shalom Koinole only means if I'm giving you a gift and I want to give it and you want to receive it. So the Gemiras Das we need a kinyan. The Chatzar is the kinyan. But if I'm not giving it to you, just because if I walk into my house and I have in my pocket $100, is it yours? The answer is no, because I'm not planning to give it to you. Okay. Now, Hada Amra, first of all, the Gemara says...
Rabbi, sorry,
yes.
How does this apply to like Simchas Torah? People bring mashka to shul.
So that's what Rabbi Mendel was saying. When people bring mashka to shul, in my understanding, that they're bringing it for everyone, there isn't any single person that can say it's mine, including the rabbi. It wasn't a gift to the rabbi. In other words, that's like this case. It happens to be, I don't believe that the shul is the bias, is Riyas Pnei bias of the rabbi. It doesn't work that way. Unless the rabbi maybe legally owns the place. If he legally owns it. And even there, I don't know for sure.
But let's say the guest or the congregant brings the bottle. Does he still have control of it?
No, he does not.
Completely not.
No, he has control, Vlad, like anyone else. Happens to be that in a Hasidic shtibel, if anyone will grab the bottle of mashka, no one is going to take it back from their hands. If you bring a bottle of mashka to shul and someone who's not well mentally, many people have that, they're going to take it. The whole thing. We'll tell him, we're not going to take it away from him, but that guy didn't do something correct because you didn't give it to him. Okay. From here we see that this word, shebeisoi, is only toiveloi. Toivel means it's koiveya for him. Avoloi la'achedim. Okay. Now, I just want you to know, here in the art school, he brings down the very interesting comments. He brings from the Achreinim, that another nuance, another detail. Listen to this. This is important. That if it's clear that all of the people will be eating it in the store, then for everyone it's called Riyas Pnei Habayis. They add another nuance. But when a guy, in this case, where he throws the figs down in front of them, even if he doesn't give to everyone 3, and this casual eating, it's not a meal, it would not be wrong and it would not be unusual for someone to take a few and put it in his pocket and take it home. In other words, since the recipients might not even eat it there, they might take it to their homes. That's why for them it's still considered, not toiveled. We have to get used to that. It's not tevel yet. But if everyone for sure is going to be eating there, then for everyone it would become tevel gomer. Very interesting, even though the Gemara doesn't say that. This is probably based on other sugyas, but there's a logic to that. Okay, so like Zajac. And now the final part of the Mishnah. We learned the Mishnah only according to Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Yechanan has a complete different understanding of our Mishnah. So let's go back how we learned Rabbi Lazar. So Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah says, okay, the other people don't have to take off Trumas U'Maasros, we already said. Let's even go with the last comment, because since it would be okay for them to take it home. Even if they eat it there, since it's okay for them to take it home, there's no Riyas Pnei Habayis at all. It's their home. Okay. But the Baal HaChanus has to take off, he has to do, because it went into his home, Gemar Malacha. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no. Says Rabbi Yehuda, that's only if he turns his face around, or if he walks into a deeper part of the store or a deeper part of the chutzner. So what we said, and that's going to be Rabbi Lazar, this is going to be based on a Mishnah that we're going to learn in a couple of daf, and daf Chav Zayin. By the way, the Mishnah has many opinions of the Tanoim. I learned it yesterday. So I'm just going to share one. I'm going to say Rabbi Nechemia, Rabbi Yishmael. Really, there are many other Tanoim. So Rabbi Lazar is going to say that our Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Nechemia are of the same opinion. What's the Rabbi Nechemia? And Daf Chav Zayin, that is where the Mishnah tells us that Re'iyas Penei Habayis doesn't have to mean an actual house. That if someone has a chutzner and produce, which is not going to be merchandised, enters his chutzner, that's also called Re'iyas Penei Habayis. Bamed Varam Amurim, now you have to have a Med Varam Amurim. So I'll just give you Rabbi Yishmael. So hold on. He says that's only if the chutzner is like a bayis. Meaning for Rabbi Yishmael, that whatever is in the chutzner is safeguarded. If it's a type of yard that's so open to the public, we're going to learn details. Of course, I was learning ahead. There has to be a shomer there, or there has to be a fence there. We're going to learn details. But if it's a chutzner that is as protected as a home, then we taka equate them. That's Rabbi Yishmael. So it's about security. There are many other opinions. Rabbi Nechemia says, no, it's not about security. It's about privacy. That's what we quoted. Privacy means that in a person's home, others cannot see him. Who sees you? Your bnei bayis or your guests. People, these are the words, don't have busha when they eat in private. People that are still sensitized have a certain level of shame to eat in public. It doesn't go together, eating and public. So Rabbi Nechemia explains that the pshat of a chutzner being like a bayis means not security, safety. I'm sorry, privacy. Not safety, not security, safety, privacy. So we touched the Mishnah correct. So Memela, what happened? The Mishnah says shar. Why shar? Shar is the entrance of the chutzner. In many entrances, there was like a little gatehouse. That's so close to the Reshus HaRabim, or if you're in the store. So every store, whoever has a store, you have your back quarters. Even if you don't have an office, you're not the hoiche fenster, but you have the back of the store that people cannot see. And then you have by the entrance where every guy that's passing by sees in. So Rabbi Yehuda is saying that even the owner of the shar or of the chanus, when is it for them re'iyas penei habayis? At least if they turn around. So if I'm standing in the entrance of my store, but I turn my back to the street, I have more privacy. I won't have busha to eat. If I'm facing the street, even for me, don't forget, it's not his house. So then there's no, that's what we said in the Mishnah. Let's read it inside. So Amar Rabbi Lazar, the Amar Rabbi Lazar, that our Rabbi Yehuda, I think we had it on Daf Yud Aleph in our pagination. And Rabbi Nechemia, which we'll have on Daf Chav Zayin, Shneim Amru Davarecha, they are of the same opinion. The Tanin and Taman over there, we learned on Daf Chav Zayin many opinions. Many more. There's Rabbi Shmuel, I think there's Rabbi Yosef, there's Rabbi Akiva, there's many opinions of when do we equate a chutzner to a bayis, vis-a-vis the rule of Re'iyas Penei HaBayis, Re'iyas Penei HaChutzner, Re'iyas Penei Chanus, and when don't we? So Rabbi Nechemia is the one that says, because he comes second. Rabbi Shmuel was the first, Rabbi Nechemia is second. It's not about safety, security. Rabbi Nechemia says it's about privacy. Koil she'ein adam boish meloichal betoicha. If you are in a place where you don't have busha to eat, you don't have busha. Why would you have busha? Not because you're eating too much. Unfortunately, people don't have busha for that. Because they're eating in public. Because others are seeing them eat. Nothing to do with the quantity. Then you're chayiv. Privacy, not protection. Now, before we go on, when other Amoraim learned the Mishnah on Daf Chav Zayin, they didn't understand Rabbi Nechemia that way. Based on Rabbi Lazar's correlation, we now clarify what Rabbi Nechemia is saying. And let me tell you how others learned Rabbi Nechemia, which is not the case. They misunderstood Rabbi Nechemia. They thought that Rabbi Nechemia is saying that if the entire chutzner has no place that has privacy in it, there is where we do not equate the chutzner to the bayis. But if there is a chutzner that has parts of it that's removed enough from the Reshus HaRabim that people in there don't have busha to eat, then all of the chutzner is koiveya, even if the produce only entered the entrance. Same thing with the store. If the store is so little and the whole thing is open with glass windows, whatever, so your mamash, you're on the street. If any part of the store has privacy, that's the way others understood. But now that Rabbi Lazar compared Rabbi Yehuda to Rabbi Nechemia, what did Rabbi Yehuda say in our Mishnah? If you turn around, you'll be chayiv. If you go deeper in, that means that in the chutzner itself, it depends where in the chutzner. So in other words, this correlation allows Rabbi Yehuda here to better interpret Rabbi Nechemia over there. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Havin and Savna Meimer, we used to think, Ma pligen Rab Nechemia Rabbanan doesn't only mean Rabbi Yishmael, because Rab Nechemia is the only one that links it to privacy. Everyone else has something else. So no, they disagree with him. So what is the argument about? They misunderstood. That was only b'chatzer shabush loichal bekula. They thought that Rab Nechemia is excluding the chatzer that is so open that there isn't any private place in it. The owner will be ashamed to eat in any part of it. That's what the Nechemia is saying. That chutzner doesn't have the status of a bias, and even if it entered the chutzner, there was no re'iyas pnei habayis. That's the way they misunderstood. But But if a guy has a chutzner, some of it is taka fully open. Some of it there's a private little nook, a niche. There's a corner. Nook.
N-O-O-K.
Very good. Now it's good. So then, but now that Rabbi Lozer says Rabbi Yehuda v'Rab Nechemia shneimam davar echad. This is so important. In other words, what do you think Rabbi Lazar wasn't, God forbid, he wasn't boasting. I know the other Mishnah. No, he's putting them together because Rabbi Lazar understood that we can misunderstand Rab Nechemia. By him putting it together, what Rabbi Lazar is really saying, Hada Amra, he's saying, understand Rab Nechemia correctly. Rab Nechemia is saying like Rabbi Yehuda, that in a chutzner, even if the chutzner has a private nook, when is there a gemar malacha? Only when it enters that nook. Makim shubush is pater, but makim she'enu in the chutzner itself chayiv. Okay.
Determine what part of the chutzner is actual produce.
It determines part of the chutzner, and because that's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. Rabbi Yehuda is saying that the guy he doesn't even have to step away; he just has to turn his back. No, he has to be facing in a place where he doesn't have busha to eat. All predicated on a human nature that some of us lost, that we're not comfortable to eat in public. There's a busha to eat in public.
How come in that argument around Nehemiah, they hold that even if you are embarrassed, it doesn't matter. You can still, it still would be.
Very good. Rabbi Shmuel will hold nothing to do with a bush melechel. If it's a chatzar hamishtameres, however you define that, even if it's completely exposed, that's the chutzner that's pnei habayis, and if the chutzner is such that there's nothing is safeguarded there, you have a piece of land somewhere in Malibu, and you didn't put walls up, just because your produce entered doesn't do anything. It's not safe. It's not protected. It's about safety protection.
It is.
According to very good.
We have pnei habayis.
Okay. Now, Atkan. Now, all of this is only Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Yochanan has a whole different understanding completely. And let me say by heart, the Mishnah that Rabbi Yochanan is referring to, it's also later in the Masechta, in our pagination on Daf Chav Tes, and they were saying the following. Whenever we speak about the Re'iyas Pnei Habayis, Re'iyas Pnei HaChatzer, we're speaking about produce that grows outside the home, produce that grows outside your Chatzer, grows in your field, you harvested it, you're not planning to merchandise it, you're planning to take it home. So the Torah tells us that when it enters the home, now it's Tevel Gomer. Okay, what happens if I have produce that grows in the home or in the chutzner? It grew there. So a bias is harder, but chutzner is more common. You have a chutzner, we have chatzedim, and we have a fruit tree. And you go ahead and you pick the fruit from the tree. So do we say, well, it's already in the chutzner, the moment I picked it, I'm chayiv to be ma'aser, or not? Maybe me taking it into, now don't forget, to quote it again, and we learned this in the Babli, I think we even learned this in by Shabbos and Kuf Lamed, that the people that were looking to exempt themselves from being Toirim or Ma'aser, if they were looking for a loophole, they had an easy loophole. What was the easy loophole? Bring it home, but don't take it into the Pnei Habayis. Take it through the skylight. In other words, based on that, you would think if something grew in the Chatzir, for sure it's not chayiv because it didn't see Pnei Habayis. That's not correct. You see, taking something in indirectly is worse. Here, it's not as bad. You didn't go like that. You picked it off the tree. It's in the chutzner. We would not exclude it, and we don't exclude it so quickly. Now, there are many ways of learning Pshat in the Mishnah and Daf Chav Tes. We're going to follow one mahalach right now. This is based on the teachings of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I want to say that other people learned this very differently. He says like this. It has to enter the chutzner. But if I go up, first step is easy. If I climb on my tree in my backyard and I pick the fig, even though I'm in my chutzner, halachically, I'm in my tree. I have to leave the tree and be in the chutzner. I don't have to enter the Pnei HaChutzner, no, but I have to be in the chutzner. So that's number one. Number two, if I'm taking only one, I didn't leave the domain of the tree. It has to be a chashuv take, two or more. Bothers you that?
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
The kashrut,
You pick up one. Okay. In other words, if you only took one, I'm trying to get that svara. You only took one, and don't forget the tree's in your chutzner. It's still not leaving the domain of the tree. If you separate it, so you see that one is not enough. You need to have more than one. Now, how is that connected over here? What's connected over here is that if this Jew, the Bala Chanuz, he's part of a group. Him being part of the group does not allow it to become a Nigman HaMalachtai for him. Why not? Because since for the other members of the group, it's not Nigman HaMalachtai, he is part of the group. He's with the group. He's not in a store. He's with the group. The only way that he will be considered his separate is if he turns away from them, if he leaves them. That's the korban. Let's read it inside. There's something that I'm missing. We'll see. I'll chop it inside. So, Omar Rabbi Yechanan, no. That the words of Rabbi Yehuda has nothing to do with Rab Nechemia. Has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the din of the yichur shu noite lachatzer. Yichur is only a branch because we also speak about a phenomena that you can have a tree outside your chutzner, but the branch goes into your chutzner. It's the same concept. You're picking it from within your chutzner. And the rule over there is that the courtyard does not automatically establish the kvius. It does not. And furthermore, eating one would be okay. Eating one at a time would be okay. That's the way we're going to learn Pshat in the Mishnah of Chavtes. If you take two or more, then you got a problem. So now, while dated Rabbi Yechanan, how do we connect it? It says the Gemara, that Rabbi Yehuda is saying two things. I disagree with you, the Chachamim, that even you say the Chachamim, the Bala Chanus has to be a Toirim U'Ma'asir. No, if the Bala Chanus is only eating one at a time, and he's eating with everyone else, and the final step, if he finishes before the other finish, was if they finished and he keeps on eating, then that eating is separate. They finished. So where he's only eating one at a time, and he's eating with everyone, and not only that, he eats with them. He finishes not the last. So all of that makes him part of the group. Like you are in the tree, he's in the group. He's not in the store. He's not. I get that. That's what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that you know when he's chayiv if he turns away, or the way Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky learns, connecting it to there. If he's going to eat two at a time, Al dated Rabbi Lazar disagrees with that. Rabbi Lazar holds that afilu eino eichel achas, even if he eats two at a time or more, even if he doesn't eat with everyone else, it's about privacy. That means if he moves but to another non-private place, according to Rabbi Lazar, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if it's not private, he'll be pater. And even in nothing to do with who finishes first. Rabbi Yechanan is a lot more lenient. Rabbi Lazar holds that Rabbi Yehuda
giving you more flexibility to eat without having to be nice. Whereas according to Rabbi Yechanan, it's only one at a time.
Correct. Thank you. Very good. Now, don't forget again that we learned above, or maybe that wasn't Trumais, that when it comes to the dinim of Zerayim, Rabbi Lazar was the king. See, the whole different way of learning the Mishnah. Okay, we finished the sugya.